Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner. He's wearing black, green, and gold. He's the challenger tonight, and he stands 6'5" and weighs in officially at 18 stone, 11 pounds, 2 ounces. His professional record is a perfect one. 25 fights, 25 victories, including 22 wins by knockout. From Sydney, New South Wales, the heavyweight fighting pride of all Australia, the undefeated former WBA World Heavyweight Champion, Lucas Big Daddy Browne. And across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing black, trimmed with gold, standing 6'4", and he officially weighed in at 18 stone, 2 pounds, 2 ounces. His professional record, an excellent one. 22 victories, 16 wins by knockout with only 1 defeat. From Brixton, London, England, the reigning and defending WBC silver belt heavyweight champion, Dillian, the body snatcher, Whyte.
Boxers, I'm the referee. I spoke to you both in the dressing room. Obey my command at all times. You both know the rules. Watch the heads, keep them punches up. And when I shout break, you break clean. And remember, to defend yourselves at all times. Shake hands.
In most instances, so Dillian Whyte
just up top.
Body punches, because of course, body punchers always risk.
When I feint, where does he go with his hand?
To the degree that they're scoring, I would have to say Whyte.
That Browne, but it applies to both fighters. Neither is really, but Browne is a nice win those fights.
Strategically now and working on that cut on their right hand, landing in the vicinity. His weight, his big right hand. There are two looking back at Roy Jones's knockout of Virgil Hill the other night, and it reminded me that the right hand of the body can be just as effective.
Particularly, and we mentioned there's an inviting target there.
Focusing on,
because he's been dominating. The way Whyte throws those punches, that right hand. I don't know if it's torque or the way he's just heavy-handed. He
makes contact, and that helps, and would otherwise be the case.
I think you're right about that, and he's for the right hand.
Left hand body shot by Whyte, and there's a hard right hand.
There it is.
Sweat
and he found the range with the jab, and this time put
to crank up the punishment and put himself in the position of Lucas Browne.
And Browne has the right idea there. He's being outclassed so far. The blood is flowing. He's getting hammered, so he's throwing caution to the wind a little, or at least
30 seconds ago. And that body shot was enough to show you were business in the ring. Trying the right hand now around Dillian Whyte's glove, and then
I mean, if Dillian Whyte doesn't get hit with anything stupid, can you win in such a way that makes people say, you know what, he can poke the top of the division? That's the kind of performance so far by Dillian Whyte tonight.
Well, meanwhile, Lucas Browne has bloodied Whyte's nose as this scene in the last minute from Browne, as he tries to stay in the fight, has done some damage. Dillian Whyte now blowing
pounds with a big right hand, decides I'm just going to come forward. Him is when he has an advantage, he's not content to sit back. He's pressing it. There's the right hand. Good left hook to the body. Follows up with the left hand. That misses, but the right hand lands. None of those devastating, except maybe the hook to the body was a nice.
All that Vaseline. The referee has an obligation to take off a lot of that Vaseline. So, you know, what I'm saying is that Lucas Browne, but not a whole lot. 3-0, Dillian Whyte.
Who is, I am told, a British veteran referee. I can't see him before. He's the one who should be watching.
We're calling for the stoppage of this fight because he is taking a beating.
That was a thunderous right hand from Dillian Whyte. Good.
If that sounds...
who understands that this is a hard business. Certainly he, at this point, doesn't want the referee to, regardless of how much blood is coming out of his left eye.
You wonder would maybe feel, you know, we're going to land this big right hand. That's not good. But Whyte is not a headhunter. You just saw it. But he's still going down to the body and hurting him there. Right, and I want to get back to the moves. If his opponent's just going to go upstairs to slip shot.
Back to the point that Harold made about too much Vaseline. The blood is flowing as though a spigot has opened on the left side of his face.
And now, in spite of any power Browne might have, in spite of how brave he may be or his corner may be, the ref has to take a good hard look at this because he is being clobbered upstairs by a 250-pounder who is landing everything and cleanly. His face is a bloody mess. It's starting to be less coordinated, and the blood is flowing out of his eye. It looks like out of his nose, through his mouth.
Full-scale target practice for Dillian Whyte, but it is target practice with the right hand up.
The only hope, if you're in Browne's, maybe Whyte punches himself. Practice yet, boy, if it's not, it's the next thing to it, Jim.
It's pretty close.
Maybe he's so emboldened that he gets
long flight back to Australia, and he'll have to face the question of.
And by to put it another way, if he was something like a 2-1 favorite to start the fight, what would the odds be at this moment? And here's the danger in a fight like this. Here you see Dillian Whyte, right hand, one of those kind of slapping right hands that he's able to get some steam on, as I mentioned before, and here it comes again. Same thing, so he almost pushes it out, but he manages to get some pop on it. But the danger...
Inside scorer Harold Letterman has scored every round for Dillian Whyte. That's not at all surprising. He's been more accurate, he's been more active, and he is turning Lucas Browne's face into a bloody pulp. There again, another glob of Vaseline flies through the air. Browne is down and out after a left hook. Finally, Whyte goes to a neutral corner, and the referee stops the fight. Medical staff rushing into the ring as that was a thunderous left hook and appears to have knocked Lucas Browne unconscious.
And the way they're rolling him right now, it's dangerous for his left arm. It's under his body in such a way where they can't roll him on his back without moving it.
Actually, it's his right arm.
Sorry, his right arm. Excuse me, his right arm.
Is under his body and behind his back. And you're 100% correct. There's no way to roll him in that particular position without risking a dislocation of the shoulder.
And so we get a, if not star-turning performance, a statement performance by Dillian Whyte. But the question is, Jim, as we've been talking about the last couple rounds, was the slim possibility that Browne could somehow land a miracle punch worth this right here?
And if you're evaluating what Whyte did tonight, the question is, did he beat a fighter or a heavy bag? It was simply an easy outing for Dillian Whyte. And there's that thunderous left hook that knocked Whyte, or knocked Lucas Browne cold. Watch it again. Grazing right, thunderous left, and that put Lucas Browne to sleep. And as soon as he landed the shot, Dillian Whyte knew that he had something to celebrate and began dancing wildly around the ring.
You have to give Dillian Whyte credit, too, and he's concerned about Lucas Browne. He's coming over there, and there was bad blood before this fight. He's checking on Lucas Browne. You have to give Dillian Whyte credit. He came out, he knew his opponent was finished, and he looked to get him out of there. But, Jim, he was also giving the ref and Lucas Browne's corner an excuse to stop the fight. Just by ramping up the activity and throwing with a little more mustard, he was giving them the excuse to stop the fight. They were not going to stop this fight in Lucas Browne's corner until he was flat on his back, and that's exactly what happened, and that's probably not the best policy.
So, Max, you said it brilliantly. There was bad blood between the two fighters before the fight. Once the fight began, there was just blood. Whyte was able to cut Lucas Browne's left eye before the end of the first round. And each succeeding round became an exercise in the corner, working frantically to try to stop the bleeding. The referee gauging the amount of damage that was being done, and Dillian Whyte tactically pursuing the target over and over again.
And look, if it seems insensitive to be talking about Dillian Whyte and his prospects while Lucas Browne is still, now he's sitting up, but it looks like he's getting oxygen, and Dillian Whyte had face planted him on the canvas with a brutal left hook, and his face was beaten to a bloody, pulpy mess. If it seems insensitive to talk about Dillian Whyte and his future prospects, I understand. I see that Lucas Browne seems responsive right now. He's sitting up. He seems to know where he is. So forgive me if I do talk about Dillian Whyte for a moment here. Jim, if the idea was to be a credible opponent for the top of the division, maybe even for Deontay Wilder as they're looking to build Wilder and Joshua, or for a Joshua rematch, Dillian Whyte has certainly done that. He's not simply a B-side opponent here where he's being fed as cannon fodder to the top of the division. Should he land a big fight, he will be seen as a live underdog, as a guy who doesn't seem to accept or simply accept his role as an opponent who's hit his potential, but as a guy who sees himself as a star, who's still getting better, and who came out here to make a statement tonight against a big, undefeated, knockout punching heavyweight.
Well, if you were looking carefully, once Lucas Browne was sitting up in an upright position, and Whyte was no longer preoccupied with his physical condition, Dillian Whyte came to our side of the ring and picked out David Haye, who's standing about 8 or 10 feet behind us, and began pointing to Haye and gesticulating as if to say, I want you, I want you. I guess Haye happened to be the only heavyweight who was here at the moment, or at least the only English heavyweight that Dillian Whyte could pick out.
The British heavyweight scene, British boxing period, is jumping and has been for some time. And the fact is, a lot of these guys no longer have to go across the pond, become stars in America, although it always helps. That's an enormous market and seen as really the place to make it. But they can pick fights with each other and do perfectly fine building up grudge matches on this side of the pond.
And now that Browne is up, receiving oxygen, talking to people in his corner, and obviously no longer in desperate straits on the canvas, we can show you CompuBox numbers, which present a...
Ladies and gentlemen, the end comes at 37 seconds of round number 6 as referee Ian John Lewis waves off the count and stops this bout. The winner by knockout victory, still the WBC silver heavyweight champion, the fighting pride of Brixton, London, England, Dillian, the body snatcher